My first ever Grand Cru Pinot Noir.
Probably my 100th, but this one is good.
In the past 12 months, Master Sommelier Carlos Santos is the perfect person to guide us through talking about Burgundy, and in particular, this incredible glass of wine and bottle that we have before us, a gift from Grays.com. This is a very special episode, not only because of the fact we tried to see how much this bottle of wine is worth, thousands of dollars. We'll reveal to you at the end how much you could be paying if you want to be drinking the same. We'll also talk about how limited this bottle is. Wait till you find out how many exactly of this bottle were created in 2016. But Carlos Santos, what are we drinking today?
So we are drinking a bottle of Domaine La Vougeraie. So this 2016 vintage from the Grand Cru of Musigny. So a very small estate to start with. Started in 1999. And then straight from the get-go, 2000, 2001, they got organic and biodynamics going on with the vineyards. I think one of the first, very, very first vineyards that they purchased was dating back to the 1960s. But then, yes, back in those days, they would sell grapes to other producers, majors, etc. But from 1999, that's when the estate was established. Again, organic, biodynamic. 2016 vintage, which is wines that were made are of very, very fine quality, and you can smell and taste that in this glass. But it's a very, very tiny vintage. What usually would be a couple of barrels, here it's literally a barrel. For the whole vintage of this wine.
How many bottles of this exact Grand Cru that we're lucky enough to have in front of us were created?
They do mention it on the bottle, so 458 bottles only. That's it for the whole world.
That's crazy.
Okay, yeah.
I'm glad to be sharing it with you.
Likewise.
And like I said, we'll reveal the prices that we found online, which are outrageous towards the end of this video. But if you are watching or listening to this, maybe seeing it on our socials, before you find out and it's revealed, just type a comment down how much you think you could be paying for this glass of wine, maybe in Australia. It's in the thousands of dollars. Carlos, I think as well today's episode is a great opportunity because we rarely get the chance to talk about Burgundy. It's something that you're so passionate about. It was obviously a huge part of your critique as becoming a master sommelier and your theory. Can you take us through thinking about a map in front of us, especially for people listening to this only, starting at the top of France and kind of taking us through the wine regions of where we'll find today's bottle and the best of Burgundy.
So if we go from Dijon, which is the very beginning of the Côte d'Or, because obviously you have Burgundy further north in Chablis, as you would know, but starting at Dijon on the Côte d'Or, so the Côte d'Or splits in two, right? So the Côte de Nuits at the north and then the Côte de Beaune at the south. So if we go from north to south, we will have villages like Marsanne, and then Fixin, then we have Givry-Chambertin, then we have Moret-Saint-Denis, then we have Chambord-Musigny, then we have Beaujolais, Vosne-Romanée, and finally Nuits-Saint-Georges. So this is north to south, the most important villages in the Côte de Nuits.
And how big is Burgundy? Just to give me some scale.
I mean, well, let's say from Dijon, so the very north of the Côte d'Or, until the end of the Côte d'Or, which is Côte de Beaune, so from Côte de Nuits to Côte de Beaune, is about 60 kilometers, give or take.
It's further away to go to my mum's house, and I visit her regularly down the highway here.
But it's very, very interesting how when you drive from Dijon all the way south, so you will find all the villages on the right-hand side, and this is how then you will break down village and Premier Cru and Grand Cru, and how they actually justify their prices. And then on the left-hand side of the national road, the vineyards are worth literally nothing. And it's just from, one side of the road to the other side of the road. A bit of asphalt separating those two, and one is worth nothing, while the other one is worth
millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions.
Correct.
So would that be because of the age of the planting, or would it be because of soil types? Would it be because of
exposure?
I was going to say exposure.
Soil types.
Yeah.
How many
climactic differences?
Slightly, slightly as well. As you go to the middle slope and the upper slopes, the vineyards have different exposure, different soil types, and then again, monks over centuries have planted and replanted those vineyards to the exact right spots with according to the soil they are, because it differentiates as well a little bit. within villages and within Premier Crus and Grand Crus.
You kind of briefly mentioned Grand Cru, Premier Cru. I've been lucky enough to have a few Premier Crus in my time, but never to get to a Grand Cru Pinot Noir. And then you've got like village wines or regional wines. You talked obviously about the difference and whatnot, but if they're so close to each other, and I remember when we talked about the Leroy, and you said we're talking about feet between vineyards. Correct. How do we justify the price difference between, I thought when I first Googled this bottle after we were gifted it, I went, oh, it's a $250 bottle of wine. And because the label's the same, but there's difference between the...
Correct. Chambord Musigny or Musigny.
Exactly.
So that's a village wine versus
we're talking
a Grand Cru.
Thousands of dollars difference.
Correct, yeah.
And obviously, the amount of quantity available, only being 450 odd for this bottle, but obviously probably thousands in the lesser...
A couple of thousand probably, yeah. But still, it's not huge.
But how do we justify that price when we're tasting it, though, apart from just ego? It's got to be an ego play of dropping this on the table rather than the label below it. Or am I completely wrong? And if there's a table of master sommeliers, you guys are, drinking this one out of preference first.
It's certainly quality is certainly there. I mean, and it's ultimately is about how it tastes like, how much you enjoy it, and obviously, it's how good is it. As I was saying, so as you drive south and as you see, for instance, the village of Chambord-Musigny. So usually there's a little town, a little church, a little, couple of wineries, and you see the houses, etc. And all the surrounding area is obviously the village. And the all major thing is regional, and then it splits. Okay, let's start from the regional. So all the region of Burgundy, if you decide to bottle a wine from Domaine la Vougeraie, from a generic place in Burgundy, anywhere in Burgundy, you will call it Burgundy, right? You will call it Bourgogne. If you are closer to the village and the vineyards fall within the village of Chambord-Musigny, then it will be Chambord-Musigny. And then as you get to the heart of the region, to that middle slope, so not quite the flatlands, not quite the highest land, it's just the perfect slope. You start having a circle of Premier Cru vineyards, in which, for example, L'Amoureuse or The Lovers in the village is one of the most important Premier Crus that could perhaps one day become a Grand Cru. And then in the very, very heart, in the perfect, absolutely perfect slope, perfect soil, you have the Grand Cru vineyard, which is tiny, super, super small, okay? And for example, for Musigny is about just over 10 hectares, and that's between white and red. But obviously white is super, super small. Let's not even go there. There's only one producer or so, one producer that makes white wine out of Musigny, Domaine comme Georges Vougeraie, but it's incredibly small, very, very rare. So forget about it. Most important is obviously Pinot Noir. But yeah, that's what it is. It's really, really the heart of Burgundy in each village. So, for example, Givry-Chambertin, a little bit further north, more rustic, a little bit bigger.
I see a lot of Givry-Chambertin. It's quite a popular bottle for people in Australia to drink, right?
Yeah, Givry-Chambertin is the biggest.
Right, that makes more sense.
Is
so
the
quantity-wise.
Correct, is the biggest village in Burgundy. So he has 9 Grand Crus attached to itself. Okay, 9 Grand Crus. So including one of the smallest. Mazy-Chambertin is, the smallest within the 9. And then you have, for example, Moret-Saint-Denis, which has 5 Grand Crus. You have Von Romanée, which has 7 Grand Crus. You have Chambord-Musigny, which has 2 Grand Crus, which are split within 2 villages, Moret-Saint-Denis and Chambord-Musigny. But yeah, when it comes to the very, very to the finest wines of Burgundy, we're talking about Grand Cru. And then, of course, there are other villages, or there are, I should say, Premier Crus, which are just around the area of Grand Cru, which are of extremely high quality. They just don't fetch the price of Grand Cru because they are not in that sweet spot.
Before we assess the wine, we're lucky enough to be drinking while we're speaking on it, and it is wonderful, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it and talk through those complexities. So if people are opening Grand Cru bottles, they can at least start to assess alongside a master sommelier. You said to me as I sent you a photo of this bottle, you went, oh, wow, amazing, but the 2016 vintage, difficult, and hence why we're only got 450 bottles of what we're drinking today. Can you tell us a little bit about, Burgundy's vintage in 2016?
Yeah, so typically this wine would probably make about double the bottling, I would say. Still very very small, but for 16 it was a very challenging year. So mild winters, and then so that pushed frosts towards March, and then a little bit of sun here and there. But it was just a very 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 small, very very small crop. So a lot of frost, which obviously damaged vines, and then sun hitting on the frost, so kind of burned the grapes as well. So it was just a nightmare for them, and they've gone through a lot of different struggles over the years, and the prices have skyrocketed because whatever was produced was of very good quality, but very, very, very tiny. So, even organic producers and biodynamic producers, for most, they had to protect their vineyards, because as much as you want to, be organic and biodynamic and use less and less and less chemicals, at some stage you got to put food on the table for the family and stuff, So they had to protect it occasionally in some parts. So it was very, very, very challenging. But the results are here, and the bottle is a beautiful bottle, and I think it's great work.
The time has arrived. If you haven't put in your guess for how much this bottle of wine is priced at in the current market is probably a better way to do it. January in 2025. You got 5 seconds to put your comment below. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, we were lucky enough to obviously be gifted this bottle from Grays.com. So thank you very much to that team. Incredible wines online, with a lot of them starting at no reserve. However, as soon as I got this bottle, I didn't really recognize the label so much, so I did some Googling, and I went, surely not. $4,100 was a price that we found. We only found 2 prices online, obviously because it's so rare.
Mm-hmm.
Currently online, the cheapest bottle that we could find of the 2016 insert name of wine.
Domaine La Vougeraie.
Thank you. I would have butchered that. $2,598.75. Did you guess that? Pretty incredible how expensive this bottle of wine is, as we let Carlos, the master sommelier, assess it.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's beautiful, absolutely delightful glass of wine, bottle of wine. I think when it comes to all the wines, and it's not too old, but 2016 is 9 years. It's revealing a lot of tertiary aromas already. That really fine, silky, leathery, earthy, that dried strawberry, touch of truffle. Very, very elegant. Really, really charming wine. More floral, a lot of dried rose. It's fantastic. I think acidity is quite elevated as well. It brings that backbone of freshness to the wine. Very delicate. It's really superb. Great bottle. When I first smelled, and we were a little bit surprised that the nose was so tight, was so close, it didn't quite feel right. But the more it stays on the glass, the more it opens, the more it gets that floral, that delicacy, that it's so characteristic from the village, Chambord Musigny. But then again, we're talking about Grand Cru Musigny, so even more powerful from those scents.
It still obviously has that fruit in it as well, which is beautiful. And yeah, one of the couple of notes that I wrote was just medium acid, and there is an elegance to it.
Yeah,
it feels like it's an occasion wine, and there is something really beautiful about it. That dried rose is a really interesting description, because I couldn't put my finger on what the
dried
floral
violet,
of it was.
Dried rose, yeah.
Yeah, it's
definitely
gorgeous, mate. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, great bottle. Usually I would say it's not a great wine, it's a great bottle, because that can happen a lot with old wines, but this is a great bottle and a great wine, I would say.
Well, we're very lucky to have done a little bit of a dive into Burgundy here. Obviously, the first Grand Cru in 3+ years of Gotsom. We also appreciate that this podcast started out as accessible wines around the $30 mark, and we're not going to lose touch with the common man, aka myself and Carlos, by only drinking Grand Crus from here on in. But it is certainly nice to have an occasion and some lovely people who were willing to share this bottle of wine with us. So big thank you to them. And we'll be back to, I think there's an episode on clean skins coming up very soon. So don't worry, we haven't lost touch. Bit of a difference to this bottle. But thankfully
they can save on a monthly basis with the clean skins, and then occasionally buy a bottle of Musigny
That's right. We've
from
got
grace.com.
Yeah, that's true. We've got our budget for the year. We lost all of that much here, but clean skins will bring us back. So wood to you, Carlos. We're going to enjoy this bottle after the recording. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're not following us on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to this in the podcast, there is a button somewhere on the screen where you don't miss an episode. We release every single fortnight. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Hopefully you could see the absolute delight in our faces as we assess this wine. And please think about subscribing if you're not already. We'll see you in a fortnight's time with another episode of Got Some. Until then.